Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful day. It's that time of year now. We're in June. Just a beautiful early summer, late spring day. It's supposed to be about 75 or so today in the tank top to get rid of my white pale skin. Getting down here to the hole. The water looks juicy. We just had a lot of rain, which is kind of rare to have that much rain in June like this. The river went from very low and clear to it bumped it up. Put some color in the river, so the fish are going to be bitey and they're going to be around. So let's go out there and whack some fish today. But also, I'm just out here to enjoy the nature. And before we get into this, I think a lot of people, when they talk about fishing, it's all about catching that fish and going out there and catching that fish. And yes, that's obviously fun. But it's also just great to slow down and just enjoy the experience. I'm out here in the middle of the woods on a river by myself. Just slow down and enjoy the beauty, God's creation, and just enjoy the peace and quiet and the beauty of nature out here. So today, that's kind of my goal. Not necessarily to catch a fish, although that's obviously a goal, but just to kind of slow down, enjoy nature, take it easy, and spend some time out here in God country. Alright guys, I'm going to run over my setup because I think a lot of people question their setups, and the way you have your stuff set up is very important, and getting a good drift and being in front of the fish's face is very important. But I also think that people complicate it and they get like a little bit stressed out, if you will, if they're am I setting it up right. So this is just a float setup. I mean, this is a simple setup you use for winter steelhead, summer steelhead. I can use it for Chinook. Obviously, you're going to have to adjust your size and your weight of your float depending on the water. But for the most part, on a lot of these medium to smaller size rivers, a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce sliding float is going to get the job done. This hole here is a bit bigger. I could probably go all the way up to like a 2 ounce to hit the far side. But the inside stuff that I'm fishing, I know it'll fish okay with this float. So this is a 3/8 ounce float. But I've got a bobber stop, a little corky. This is just a, arrow float, 3/8 ounce. Got a 1/2 ounce weight. I like to overweight my floats just because it slows them down a little bit. And that's one thing you can kind of get into a little complicated. Overweighting your float a little bit kind of slows it down a little bit. Keeps that bait in front of those fish. Obviously, leave lots of tag ends hanging off. You guys know that if you've seen Addicted Fishing. I got a bead in between there. So that weight. Then I just got my leader. And below this weight, you can run anything. Today I'll be running probably some jigs and some prawn for summer steelhead. I'll be running a lot of beads. So this is just down. I got a couple split shot. Then I got my incognito bead, my lured, favorite beads out there. And then my hook, of course. That's what I've got set up right now. But that's just a simple little bobber setup. So we're just gonna run it through, see if we can get one. Alright guys, so I ran that bead through there, ended up snagging up and breaking off, so I tied on the jig. So same bobber setup as before, bobber, weight, all that. I just have a leader with a little jig, a little piece of prawn on there, and gonna run this through, see how it goes. Got the fish on. Alright guys, well, it's nothing big, nothing spectacular, but we got what looks to be like a little trout. Just a little trout, probably a little baby steelhead. It's a hatchery fish, so it's probably going to be a steelhead one day. And you can see that jig hooked him right in the nose. Pop that jig out. Let him go. Look at that. That was like second cast with a jig. And that's why it's so important to run different techniques through the hole. So that's why it's so important to run these different techniques. Obviously that was a small fish. You know, it was a little trout. Probably one day going to be a steelhead. Honestly, the hatchery probably released that one. They hang out in here, they act really trouty, and then they end up going out to the ocean, becoming steelhead and coming back, right? So that's probably a little future steelhead. So I kept them in the water, try to be very gentle and nice to those fish. I see so many people, you know, drag them up on the rocks or just kick them off. You know, oh, that's just a little, you know, little vermin. But that's a future little steelhead right there. So we want to make sure he's protected, he gets back very gently. But that's why it's important to switch up, you know. Yeah, it was small fish, but it easily could have been a 10-pound summer steelhead. You know, I ran that bead. As soon as I put that shrimp on this jig, he attacked it. So that just goes to show switching up your techniques, you know, can lead to fish when you fished other techniques and had no success. All right, toss this jig back out there. Actually looks like a little cutthroat. Oh no, same thing. This one's wild though. So again, I'm going to keep him in the water, be very gentle with him. So that one's got an adipose fin, so that's probably a little wild steelhead. Unhook him. There he goes. See you guys, so it's not always about, you know, catching the giant fish, you know. Sometimes just getting out here in nature and just catching a couple, you know, fish like that. But the crazy thing is, and the fun part is, when that bobber sinks, you never know how big that fish is going to be. My next cast, it could do the same thing, and it could be a steelhead. So, all right, guys, back where we started the intro, up at the top, I fished this whole section, caught a couple of those nice trout, which is really cool. Those are some pretty nice trout, future steelhead probably, and gonna finish hiking up out of here, and then maybe drop in somewhere else and see what we can find. It's been a great day so far, enjoying nature, sweating my booty off, but hey, it's a good workout.